37 Disney Street, which isn't far from you. 3 Disney fans have watched a film which they will now review.
Hello friends and welcome to 37 Disney Street. This week we're jumping online to take a look at our last animated classic, number 57, 2018's Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Oh come on, princesses and cartoons, characters, bah! I'm Chris Fletcher.
Have you ever noticed how all your people think all your problems are solved because a big strong man showed up? I'm Lucy Rain.
My autoveil is a touch aggressive today.
Hi pals!
I'm Hugh Rain.
And that's the truth. Hi everybody!
Hello.
Well, here we are. It's our last animated classic, and we just tried to explain this on the DLP show. It's our last animated classic, but it's not the last animated classic, and it's actually the one that came out last before we started doing the podcast. So it's ended up being the last one that we do in the podcast.
So our mission statement when we started was we are going to review all the classics in order, from starting with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and finishing with Ralph Breaks the Internet. Dwarf!
And still, yet here we are, tinging this bell.
And finishing with Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now, since then, new films have come out, and as they've come out, we have reviewed them as close to the release date as possible. We tend to be able to see them opening weekend, don't we? And then we review them the following weekend. But this is the last classic we haven't reviewed.
Well, I imagine this came out while we were in discussions about doing the podcast, because it would have been in November, won't it? And then we started recording in like the February or something, didn't we? So we must have known we were going to do this by then, but we just hadn't made any roads into it properly.
And we didn't know what we were going to do about doing new films and whether we were going to leave them to the end. We hadn't made these decisions. So this is the final sequential classic. There are no more. There are no more to do. However, that does not mean it's the end of this podcast.
No, correct. So we want to do lots of other stuff, and we've just been trying to work out over the last few weeks where we take it next, haven't we? So we've got a plan to do a Marvel rankings show, and we're going to do similar for Star Wars and for, I don't know, whatever, Muppets, Pixar maybe?
Although Pixar's so big that I don't know if we can just do that.
Well, I'd like to do Pixar like we've done the animated films. It's just, it might be a little bit more... it might be a bit slower than we have been of late. I think it'll be something that maybe we do as a series at some point when we've got the time.
I think it's fair to say at the moment, we're taking it episode by episode because we know our next 2 episodes. Ooh, I'm swearing. Now I'm peaceful.
Only about 5 people watch this. Most people listen to it, so they can't see you swearing. It's fine.
I'm on camera and I turn my fingers the wrong way around.
2s up at you.
The next 2 episodes, we know that the first one is going to be ranking our Marvel films in order. All 3 of us were going to rank them, and then we give them the score from 1 to 27. Is it?
Yeah.
And then we come up with an aggregate ranking by adding each of the scores together. And then the next episode will be Turning Red. Will be released.
Yeah.
And so we will review Turning Red as we are doing all the others when they come out. And then, not sure what the one after that will be, but for now
It'll be Summer.
We're just taking it an episode at a time. So we can promise you those will be the next 2 episodes.
Yes,
but enough about the next 2 episodes. What's today's episode, Chris?
Well, today it's all about Ralph Wrecks the Internet, and I refuse to call it anything but Ralph Wrecks the Internet. It is called Ralph Wrecks the Internet because calling something Ralph Breaks the Internet when the main character is called Wreck-It Ralph, it just doesn't make any sense, does it?
It's such a misstep. I mean, obviously, like, it's the Kim Kardashian thing, and we get that, but I think people would still get the reference if because if they changed the reference to because it was Break the Internet, wasn't it? Break the Internet. So if it was Wreck-It Ralph 2, Wreck the Internet, something like
colon.
That. Yeah, something like that. Wreck the Internet. It would have been perfect. This just caused people to the point where they tried to fix this with a plaster or a band-aid, if you're American, in one of the later trailers where they had Yes talking to them and saying like, but why isn't it called Ralph Wrecks the Internet? You know, and it's like a watchers, a readers, and it's like that's not good enough.
No,
don't just acknowledge your mistake.
Change it. Just change it. Just change it.
Too late,
Come
though,
on.
wasn't it? Too late.
It's never too late.
They should have just not addressed it, because all they did was highlight the fact that they'd made a mistake in the naming of the film. There's the wind on the door, Chris.
Really loud wind on the
Franklin.
door.
It's Franklin now, not Eunice, isn't it?
Is it?
Yes,
Yeah,
Franklin.
It's a
We've
new
moved on.
one.
We've
got
moved on,
another
Hugh.
Storm Franklin is battering the outside of our house as we speak. So, if you hear any ghostly sounds, it's probably that.
So, do we want to jump straight into the history then? Yeah. It's time to dig a little deeper to learn some Disney stuff. Dig a little deeper. No, we ain't dug this far enough. Dig down deep into the facts. We'll find out what we need. Lucy will school us guaranteed. Open up the windows. Let in the light, children.
You're laughing at your own jingle.
I never tire of my jingles.
That is one of my favourites, I have to say.
Yeah,
Of
me
course,
too.
it's got my name in it, so I'm going to be a little biased. Right, Ralph breaks the internet.
Rex.
There's not a huge amount of history to this, as there often isn't with the more modern classics. It's they get an idea and they make the movie. In this case, it was...
How can we make a load of
the
money?
first one made a lot of money. Make another one as quick as you can. That kind of
That
thinking.
doesn't show though. How
Sequels
interesting.
to Disney classics are uncommon, aren't they?
Yes.
And
Up to this point.
There've been one.
This one gets
Strictly.
a sequel. This one.
So let's just be clear. We're on... Up to this, there had been 56 Disney classics. There had only been one sequel.
2 if you count Winnie the Pooh. If you count it,
okay.
it's kind of not, because they are different films, but it is Winnie the Pooh. So I think
it's
kind
a
of
series
2,
of short
really
stories.
1.
But
On-
yeah.
on paper, you think, right, which films are we going to give us a proper cinema release sequel to? Rescuers and Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that
Really?
there were 2 Aladdin films that went straight to video.
Oh, there was...
Oh, yeah.
There was
Lion King.
loads.
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
I know,
Little
Beauty,
Mermaids.
Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, Little
Yeah,
Mermaids.
yep.
So sequels were not
But I mean,
uncommon.
cinema
but
release, like classic.
they were
episodes.
straight to
Yeah.
video, and there was a department dealing with these, and it was always the next business step after releasing a classic was, right, let's develop a straight to video cash grab sequel. So this cinema release sequel it's not unique, but it's rare.
I'm gonna have to just let you know straight away as you start talking about history. I'm biting my tongue for now because I think I mentioned to Lucy before we started recording earlier. I'm quite frustrated by this film.
Okay.
So you go into that history, and I'm going to try and bite
You're
my
biting
tongue.
your tongue now. If anyone's watching and wonders why I'm picking the inside of my cheek, I've got one of those, those
Yeah,
little blisters you get inside, and you just think I'm just going to pop that
yeah.
inside my cheek. So, yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
don't
carry
do
on. Cool.
that.
And we're listening as well.
While you're popping your blister, would you mind checking? I should have asked you this before, but what we scored the 2012 Wreck-It Ralph. I think it'd be interesting to know.
Popped it.
Right.
Actually, it wasn't that long ago, so it's actually on this just the opposite page in my book here. We gave it the score you want.
Yeah.
77 Sunset Strip.
Okay.
77.
I just think that's worth kind of keeping in mind going. I genuinely couldn't remember what we'd given it, and I thought if we're going to compare ourselves and our own thoughts, it is going to be important. The listeners probably remember better than we do. They might have listened to it more recently. Anyway.
Months ago for us.
Yeah.
So, we had some familiar voices return for this sequel. We had John C. Reilly, Sarah Silverman, Jack McBrayer and Jane Lynch all reprised their roles. Gal Gadot played... do you say Gal Gadot?
Gadot.
It's actually Gadot. That's how
Gal Gadot?
an actor recently who was interviewed who worked with her pronounced it. I can't remember who it was, but he says it's Gadot.
That's fine. I'm happy to be corrected on that because I wasn't entirely sure. She played
Wonder Woman.
the part of Shank, who is the bad street.
I think of her as
person.
Penelope Cruz.
Yeah, okay. I get that.
She has
Hang
that
on.
kind of look about her.
Now, Alan Tudyk was in. He's our new fave, isn't he?
Tudyk.
Where's
Tudyk.
Tudyk?
He was in the original, playing. Do you remember?
Sour Bill.
Sour Bill and
Ooh.
No, wasn't he? What's his face?
Oh no,
The-
it wasn't Sour
King
Bill.
Candy.
Yeah,
He
King
wa-
Candy.
He was. Yeah, sorry. It was
I think-
King Candy.
I think he played Sour Bill as well, didn't he?
No, I think that was someone else.
Okay. Anyway, he was King Candy.
King Candy.
The What's his name want to be? The guy out of Mary Poppins.
Okay,
The brain's
yeah.
going, you know what I mean. But
What's his
he,
name?
It's gone from my head, but he's very well known.
He's
But
very
just
well known.
famous, like he's like
I'm
famous. and
ashamed.
that.
I'm really ashamed. I can't remember it.
Oh,
In this film, he plays the Knowsmore character. Now, this was an interesting character because the design was based on a 1960 character design by Ward Kimball and Mark Davis, and they actually who was a know-it-all bookworm basically, and they just brought it back and revived it. So that's a nice nod to Disney history.
Oh.
There's a nod to Disney history.
Wow, that's good. We like
Yeah.
nods.
Okay. All the princesses, talking of nods to Disney history,
Oh yeah.
were voiced by their original actresses, except the actresses who had passed away, which were Cinderella, Aurora, and Snow White. All the others, regardless of age and career, all came back to voice themselves.
Interesting thing in that for me. So Jodie Benson, is that right? Jodie
Yep.
Benson, The Little Mermaid, sounds more like Barbie in this, which she also plays, than she does Ariel.
Well, a voice is it, vocal cords age,
yes, they
don't
do.
they?
she
I
play
found it quite
Barbie?
interesting. Yes, she did. In Toy Story.
Oh, okay.
Not in.
It was Ed Wynn, by the way.
Ed Wynn, of course it
Wynn.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Goodness me,
I had
how
to
could
look
we
it up.
forget
But
Ed
I
Wood
was
today?
like, it was gone.
There were other cameos of famous Disney properties, including Vin Diesel as Groot,
Oh yeah.
Anthony Daniels as C-3PO,
Well, of course, he's going to be there.
and Tim Allen as Buzz. But basically, they managed to get all the. There were a lot of just little cameos, weren't they? And they did manage to get the muscle if needed. Those were the ones that were worth repeating.
Finish
Now,
it,
You said repeating as you repeated.
Hugh. Finish it, please. This is
And beyond.
that's like shaving a haircut.
Right, directed by Rich Moore and a debut directorial stint from Phil Johnson.
Ooh.
Now, I know. I was grasping for things to write on this.
Yeah.
Alan Menken wrote kind of, I think it's keeping in with the Disney nods, isn't it? It's like the I Want song from the princesses. Who writes the I Want song? Alan Menken came back to write the I Want song for the Slaughter. It's called Slaughter Race, isn't it? The featured companies were not approached for rights. The legal reason being that they are companies and logos in the public domain and easily accessible.
Wow.
I'm
can
not a
imagine
lawyer.
actually-
I'm not a lawyer.
I can imagine eBay would have been really concerned about it damaging their brand as well.
But not YouTube.
There might have been a different reason
Yeah,
for that.
maybe
It might have been
because
to do
it's
with
like-
parental controls and things like this.
Or maybe it's
or-
because it's like an entertainment
Yeah.
business
yeah.
now. I don't know.
But it wasn't to do with rights because they basically didn't get any for all those things. Yeah.
Free advertising. Yay!
Mm.
Memes and trends were researched not to make it current, but to avoid it being dated, because they did research on the average shelf life of certain memes. So when they were referencing things like this whole goat screaming thing and all that, they wanted to come up with things that weren't so specific that it would date the film, but were broad enough to be believable as trends. So they did a lot of research on memes and internet trends. Chris, do you know, I'm wanting to cower away from the scorn that is coming from that end of the table.
I was pulling a similar face, but Chris held it for longer because that research was poor.
I'm churning inside,
Well,
honestly.
my research was
No,
poor.
the people researching the memes.
Oh, okay. No,
Oh dear.
I don't. Just to be clear, I don't know if I've explained it well enough from what I read. They didn't research memes to make the memes good. They researched memes to avoid just using existing memes and trends. Just okay. I'm going on. It's like trying to explain the internet to your mum. I think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or to Ralph.
There's just.
What is an
I'm
internet?
just going to break away here.
internet?
There's a really embarrassing
That's the first time I've tried.
uh,
Oh, it wasn't
That's
bad.
all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, not bad at all.
thing in the United States. The Congress had to question. They were doing something with internet.
You're boring me.
I know. Something to do with internet
I'm
laws. I
bored.
don't know. But the Congress had to question like Mark Zuckerberg and stuff. And some of these older Congress people were just asking questions like, and how do you make money from the internet? You know, like really, really basic questions.
How don't
And
I?
Exactly. Where does your advertising go? And to say that they were in charge of kind of regulating content on Facebook, they clearly just didn't know how the internet worked. And I think that your faces when I said the researched memes and you both did those faces, that's what it felt
Yes,
like.
I
isn't
don't
it?
think the writers knew what the internet
Yeah.
was about either.
It's like someone had gone into a meeting and go, you know, there's a thing called a meme. Maybe we should put some of those in.
And I bet they mispronounced it as
Meme.
meme or a meme.
Meme.
Someone at work insisted it was meme, and I went, it's meme. And she went, I actually know because my dad told me it, so it's meme.
Your dad.
Sorry, your dad told you. I didn't. It wasn't worth going into the fact that, well, no, it's coined by what's it called?
What are you doing, Lucy?
I had a
I'm sorry, listeners, if you just had a massive thud then, but Lucy's getting aggressive with the microphone.
Yeah. I had a twitch. Right.
Okay. So
That's it. That's all I've got.
do you want to talk some
all
first
she wrote.
impressions before we jump into the story and the animation and the music?
I mean, I was quite looking forward to seeing it because it's a very busy film and it's something that you think there's lots to look at and see and enjoy. So I was like, yeah, I'm not against watching this right now.
We were at a time in our family life when Bonnie was just getting to an age where it was comfortable and acceptable to take her to the cinema to watch a 2-hour film.
Same.
And so it was nice to do as a family of 3 activity. This afternoon we're going to go to the cinema, we're going to see a Disney film, and we all rocked up. Now, I did ask what our score was. 77
Sunset
for
Strip.
Ralph Rex, the internet. Seems
Wreck-It Ralph. Oh, Wreck-It Ralph, not for Ralph Rex Internet.
Wreck-It Ralph. For Wreck-It Ralph, yeah. That seems pretty indicative of my feelings towards it. It were fine. I liked it. It was all right. It were all right. So going to see the sequel, yeah, that's fine. That's good. That's all right. I don't mind that. So that was my thoughts going in.
I was excited to go and see it because it's the first film I went, just me and Lucas, to watch a film together. So going back into it this time, I was interested to watch it because I remembered enjoying it, and we bought it on DVD as soon as it came out as well. Back in the day, even that recently, that was still a buy it on DVD job, and Lucas watched it a couple of times, but I never watched it again. So watching it for this is the second time I have gone into it.
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to it for the same. I quite enjoyed the first one, and I thought, oh, well, it might be all right. Second one, quite.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't
Whatever.
all right.
Well, yeah.
Hang on. Spoilers.
So, should we hear from the kids first?
Yeah.
Should we do the usuals? Right, so
It will summarise the story for you
here they come.
in less than 3 minutes.
We just watched Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's about a little girl called Penelope and a big man called Wreck-It Ralph, and he accidentally breaks Penelope's game, so they have to go to eBay to get a new steering wheel.
But they have to get money to buy it. But then they go into this place called Slaughter Race, and Penelope gets kind of like addicted to it. So Ralph goes and gets a virus and tries to do it, and then it starts going like down, so they get out, but then the virus escapes and sees that Ralph isn't supposed to be there, and then they have to try and get rid of all the Ralphs. Yeah, I can't remember how they did it, but at the end Penelope lives in Slaughter Race and Ralph still lives in the arcade. The end.
My favourite bit is when he gets kissed by the frog and he's in Snow White's costume.
My favourite bit is the part when Penelope's with all the princesses in the Disney park trying to get people to go and watch Ralph's videos to get more money.
The end when they were doing the titles. My favourite character is Penelope because, I don't know, she's really cheerful and funny.
My favourite character is Ralph.
My favourite song is the one that Penelope sings when she's looking into the water.
My favourite song is Hello, hello, let me tell you what it's like to be a hero. I like hello, hello, hello. What it's like to be a zero.
I would give it a 4 out of 5 again.
I would give it a 3 out of 5.
I give it 0 out of 0. I did give it a score because I want to just 0 plus 0, so just give it 0 plus 1.
You're talking nonsense.
No, I'm not. My dad's saying nonsense, so I'm not. Bye! I'm leaving now. Do you remember at the end when baby Moana screamed because the rabbit blew up? It must have been absolutely disgusting because there were like blood everywhere, I bet.
You got told off by Ollie there.
No, I did.
Because he was appealing to us there through the microphone. He said, my dad just said this. He said, I'm talking nonsense, but I'm not.
He said I'm talking nonsense, but I'm not. Interesting. Now, we'll go into the story in a second, but I thought it was quite interesting that none of them, as much as they told the story of what happened, they didn't get the subtle nuances of friendship and all that sort of stuff, did they? So should we talk about the story?
Yes.
Yeah, we can touch on that.
So it's time to discuss how the story goes. I know it can't be worse than Oliver and Coke.
Are you laughing at my jingle now?
Yeah, it still tickles me now. The Oliver and Co. slam in there.
You know, someone on the DLP show today said that she can't listen to the Oliver and Co. episode because she loves that film so much.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, I know there's loads of people who it's got an affectionate place in the heart, but then I feel like that about Robin Hood. And I'm very aware it's quite poor, but it's my childhood film.
Some people will be drawn to certain episodes of this podcast because it's films that they love.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we'll get many random hits on this one. You know, people
No.
go, oh, Wreck-It Ralph 2, brilliant, my favourite.
Because I think this is worse than Oliver and Company.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't.
There we go. I do.
don't.
Oh, I really do.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, right?
Yes.
It's all a bit on the nose for me. You've been led by the hand, and it's this thing again of, you know, you have to have someone there who's explaining everything to them, or you know, it feels like a mishmash of ideas that like people have been throwing at this thing and saying, oh, and then they could do this, and then they could do this. Oh, what about this? You know, it's too on the nose for me.
Well,
I think Chris entered this building tonight with a rant in his mouth. I could see it, and it was like he was chewing on it. It was waiting to explode. And I said, save it for the podcast, because I like to hear his opinions for the first time when we're on the podcast, and then I can reply to them on the podcast.
Hear 'em fresh.
So I'm just gonna say, let's give Chris the floor because he's got something he wants to say. Go on, get it out of your chest.
well, look, I could quote Devon Malcolm, which I have done on many occasions on this show, and say they didn't stop to think about whether or not they should. You know, they were just... I haven't even quoted it right today. I'm that angry about this.
Is that character's name?
Devon Malcolm, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Malcolm.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The thing is, right, it feels like they, exactly as you said in the history bit, they just went, do you know what? That's made us a load of money. Let's use that and do something with it. But it isn't an existing franchise. It's not something that they've put any effort into before. And they've basically looked at all these IPs that they've suddenly got hold of and said, right, we need to ram those into a film. All right, they've not paid for these advertising things, but they're throwing a load of weight at all these companies like eBay. Like they're just literally giving them free advertising. It's just such a mess of a film. It's an absolute mess. I just, from beginning to end, I don't understand why it exists. I would understand if they'd done what they did with Lady and the Tramp 2, what they did with Cinderella 2, and all those things, and it went straight to video, and it was something that's there. But this is an animated classic. This is one of those films that got a cinematic release. Why the hell did this get a cinematic release? It makes no sense.
Well, no, look, in Disney's defence, I'm thinking of the stories of the Gong Show back in Katzenberg and Eisner's day, and I'm imagining this. You give your top directors and you say, I want three ideas each from you.
Cool, so...
I'm imagining being at that table and someone comes in and goes, this film, Wreck-It Ralph, has just made this amount of money. Here's an idea. Current trend, so-and-so breaks the internet. How about Ralph breaks the internet, we put him into the internet.
And he breaks it.
That word. And I just imagine them going, yes, that's brilliant. Because on the first face of it, Chris, it is a good idea.
It's not, though. It's not a good
No, I
idea.
agree with you.
My word.
I
And
agree
so-
once it's done, it's not a good idea. But just on that on the title alone and the concept of this seemingly popular character goes into the internet.
Some of the things that they do in this film are managed better in the Emoji Movie, and that is a
Oh, yeah.
terrible film.
I agree with you.
I didn't mind the
agree
Emoji
with
Movie.
But it's still terrible. It's not. It's not.
Well, yeah.
It's not a great film. It's problematic, and yet it's effectively the same thing, except instead of it being the internet, it's mobile phone apps. It's the same thing, and it does it better. It does a lot of these things better. Which this is Disney. It shouldn't be this standard.
Do we need
It's
to
just
quickly
appalling.
just recap the story then, which is
If we must.
Ralph's messing about in Vanellope's game and trying to make it more interesting for her because she's a bit bored, isn't she?
Yeah.
We
And-
get the backstory
and that
that
means-
they spend every night.
And that means that the girl playing the arcade machine is wrestling with the steering wheel because it's getting out of control. The steering wheel snaps off, and the only way to save the game is for them to go on the internet and find a brand new steering wheel, and that's that leads them into the internet. So I guess that's a good enough. It's not brilliant. It's not brilliant, but it's good enough an excuse to say, well, they need to go into the internet for something. So they go to eBay. And you know what? They don't know how eBay works. Because you don't put in your maximum bid of $27,001, and that's what you have to pay.
No.
That means that someone put in
But-
$27,000.
They did, though, because they were outbidding each other, weren't they?
Oh.
They were outbidding each other, and that
Oh,
was the
yeah.
problem. That's why the price shot up.
Okay.
Yeah, but the final.
I missed that.
And then it said 27 and 1. Yeah.
Okay. But also, they introduce these weird things where your avatar is in the internet. So it's just really odd for me to I couldn't justify the fact that I couldn't make work that me sitting on my bed grimly flicking through eBay, just with
Looks like that smiley face
humorless
with the hearts
expression.
flying up.
Yeah, there's a little version of me walking around in a space it was too abstract for me. I thought because that's not me, because I'm actually at home on my bed just staring at my phone screen.
They were trying to do with the internet what numbskulls did with the human body. And as a child, I genuinely believed.
Or Inside Out.
Yeah, or Inside Out did. Genuinely believed that there was little worker men running around pumping my heart and making things go.
I love
Because
that.
I know, because I'd read all the Usborne books that had all that kind of stuff in. So I think they were trying to kind of create this world. But the problem is that you go, all right, so it's going to be like this, and then it's going to look like that. Well, how are we going to do the auction? Well, that's going to be booths of people doing that. But what about that? Now we need a way of doing, what else is on the internet? Pop-ups on the internet. How do we do pop-ups? And I just felt like they kept pulling at this thread and unravelled the whole jumper.
How did
You know
Ralph
what I
work
mean?
out how to put his face onto videos and do all that sort of stuff? How did he
Yeah.
fathom it? How did all that just suddenly
Yeah.
work?
And then this whole giving out hearts.
Yeah, and
just
it's like
everything.
it bugs me how easy the suggesting it is to become a viral sensation. In the space of 10 hours or whatever it is that they've got to raise this money. I think that's giving an unrealistic expectation to kids who are watching this, who are impressionable. Bonnie watches a lot of YouTube. Is she thinking, it is easy to be a viral hit,
and get likes and you'll get money.
and then they're just going to end up getting hurt
yeah.
when the video gets 5 likes.
So, I mean, there's that whole internet thing that doesn't work. Now, I'm going to go on. I've got 2 other things. I've got 3 massive problems with this.
I know what one of them is.
I know what one of them is as
The
well.
internet.
We all have the
is
same
one
one.
of them. Oh,
Yeah.
well, let's go on to that one, because I think because this is my overriding thing when I came away from it. Is I always say, this is why, if you haven't listened to the Oliver and Company thing, I say I do it for escapism and I want to go into that world. And I didn't want to go into floor level 80s New York. I thought it was a horrible world. I did not want to be in Slaughter Race for a second.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why Vanellope was so beloved is from the first movie was the energy and the lightness and the fun and the colour and the spark and the spunk and all that kind of thing. And the thought of her being left at the end in Slaughter Race.
In this
I
horrible
just felt
world.
it made me feel sad and
Yeah.
disappointed
And now
gross.
people would argue, well, yeah, but that's who she is inside, and she's
And that-
found
that was the
she's
story.
found her place. That's not the point. We get that.
Yeah.
What the point is, I didn't enjoy seeing her. They have to say goodbye to each other, and they can only see each other. And she says, "Oh, there's an upgrade in like a month or something, and then you can visit me then, while the game's down." So
Really sad.
they've put this insert this thing into the story that literally makes it so that they can't see each other all the time. These best friends, and now they have to like wait until the game's down in a month, and they hadn't seen it for 3 months before that. Like, what? Why are you doing this to us? I don't want to watch that. I don't want to know about that.
And I know
It's miserable.
I am completely with you on this. But the other little thing of that is they communicate on what, phones? So the pixelated characters have phones that they can communicate to each other from different places, but they need the internet to do that. So are they in the internet, and how does that work? It doesn't. None of that kind of computes, does it? There's too
I
much
think
stuff that
it
doesn't
might
work.
it might have been explained with, I think Yes gave them these things where they could, but I mean at the end of it, all of it is just overthought and shoehorned. I think they literally got in over the head by this point, and they just had to like make anything work.
Should never have been made.
I get this mixed up with Ready Player One.
Oh, okay.
Because they have to. There's a race in that, isn't there, where they have to. They have to win a race for
One of the,
in Ready Player One, which
I've only seen it once. So.
and so
Don't
when they were in Slaughter Race and having that race, I was thinking, oh, where's that bit? But then it's Ready Player One I was thinking of.
And then my other big problem is it's like a psychology study in toxic friendships,
Isn't it?
It really, I mean, the one thing
And the kids didn't get that. Did you know? The
No.
kids didn't get it.
the one thing they got right in many ways was this big Ralph monster crawling over itself to smother Vanellope. I suppose that's a good analogy for it, but it's not a nice analogy that I want playing out in front of me. And also the fact that that is a good analogy for a friendship in a Disney film at all is just sick. I mean, right from the beginning of the movie, it was his behaviour was just toxic, and her response to it was unhealthy. It was just everything. It was just not. It's not something you wanted to see play out.
The whole idea of using viruses, just in general, for me, it's awful. It just doesn't work. And he's trying to do it to help her. He's trying to kill the game. So he goes and gets a virus and puts it in there, and all of that is just nasty. That's worse than any villain you get in a Disney film, isn't it? It's just
and taking someone else's wants and preferences and going, no, because that's not what I want and that's not what I prefer, and I'm going to destroy what you want. And they try and make him still likeable at the same time.
It's all right because he realises in the end it's fine.
As if you're meant to understand.
I
his
feel like that's what
actions.
we're doing
It's
though.
like-
When we're saying we don't want her to be in Slaughter Race, but
Well-
that's what her dream is. Mind you, she's not real, is she?
No,
So,
this
like,
is
they've
this
just
is
written
a
that.
story choice. This is we're talking about the story choices. It's not us talking about the decisions.
It could have been anywhere else. That the game that she is in, that arcade game in today's
That's it.
world, it could be an online version of that game. It could have been anything, or it could have been a completely different type of game. It could have been anything.
It could have been just a little bit nicer, just something
Yeah.
a bit closer to like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which is it's aspirational and it's nice. It's not this like yellow, hazy, smoky, brown, dirty, disgusting world.
Yeah.
Like, get out of there. She doesn't belong there. Thing is, like, I kind of feel protective towards her, and like I feel like we've just sent our daughter to live in this ghetto.
I just don't think, if you've listened to our Toy Story 4 review, there was an original sin that we talk about where they just took Woody's character in a place that we don't believe Woody would have gone, in a direction, and had him make decisions that we don't feel Woody would have made, and in which case we couldn't get on board with the movie at all because his character had been tainted. And there's a bit of that here. Now, in some ways I can see realistically Ralph's character from the first film behaving in this way, but it is a writer's choice to have that happen or not happen, to have character arcs and to have epiphany moments and things. And I don't feel these characters had to play out this story.
Can we just as well? They brought back other voice actors, so they've got Fix-It Felix and Calhoun doing in a completely pointless story arc of nothingness. They might as well not be in it.
I can't remember what they
said hello.
What are they doing? I can't
They
remember.
take all the kids, they take all the races and become
to
parents.
the other races.
That is it.
So we're also accepting that Vanellope's basically a child if all the other races are children.
How does the game work without her? How does the game go back to being
Yeah.
and work without her?
Yeah.
It doesn't, does it? Or did it get the...
Yeah, they're back in the game in the end. The game's working and it's fine. It's all...
So yeah, they get there, and they're like, "Where's this character gone?"
So then
It's
back to
broken.
being- it's back
It's
to being
broken
Wreck-It
again.
Wreck-It Ralph again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's just there's massive plot holes in it.
It's so problematic. It feels rushed and thrown together, and it feels to me like the IP stuff is. Can you imagine that conversation? Oh, we've got Star Wars and we've got Marvel now, so let's get those involved as well, and let's get the princesses involved, and we can do this thing with them. And
That's the thing that sold this film, and they led with that in all the marketing was the Oh My Disney section, and it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
and
I agree.
do you think today this film's being made today? Do you think they do that, or do you think they do something on Disney Plus as a short special that's 20 minutes long or whatever that shows that showcases those things?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say like a TV series of that.
Yeah.
They could still do that. It would be great. Those princesses, as they are, sort of, kind of tongue in cheek, making fun of themselves almost. I like
At
that.
the parks. It could be a TV series at the parks. Waiting to go out and meet and greet and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. The princess bit was... I know we've spoken before that at Hugh's job he sometimes gets confidential things that he doesn't tell me. And you had seen these princesses and not mentioned them at all. Think you were doing cards. And then when the trailer came out, you said something like, "We've done that work. That's going to sell this film." You said I know you'd seen it and you were very pro it, and you said the kids are going to love this.
Your kids are going to love it.
Maybe you told me before that you said there's something in it the kids are going to love. I think you said.
Right.
And you were absolutely bang on. And I must say that when I give my score in a minute, that section with the princesses and also the way the princesses work together to save Ralph at the end, which is very, very clever, that is going to bring it up.
More of that, please.
Yeah.
It was great.
That was very good.
Did you hang around for the Rickroll at the end?
Was that the second cutscene?
It's right at the end of the credits.
Because there's two cutscenes, aren't there?
It was actually
Alan
quite
Marvel.
funny. Oh, that was it, because it says, and now some scenes from Frozen 2. And then it's Ralph doing a Rickroll.
I didn't see that. I didn't
Lucy
see
looks
it.
confused. Yeah, that's when you play Rick Astley instead of the thing that you think you're going to see.
Never gonna give you.
It's called Rickrolling.
The reason I didn't see it is that I did my usual thing, which I've done with all the Marvel films when I've watched them this time as well, which is I fast forward to the first one, to the first cutscene, and then drop it back a bit because I've gone past it because Disney Plus fast forwarding is awful. I watch that and then I fast forward, and the last one is always right at the end, and so it resets and goes right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And I couldn't bother fast forwarding all the way through for it again.
Right. Yeah, it was funny. I almost wish they'd kind of marketed it saying, oh, and at the end there's some new Frozen 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And then properly rickrolled
pushed it. Yeah,
everyone. But they wouldn't dare do that because there would have been complaints. People were saying, I came to see that film because of that. You owe me, it's false advertising.
But also the internet would have exposed it as soon as people
Yeah.
started watching it anyway.
The internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is an internet? Do you want to score it?
Yep, it's all from me.
Yeah.
Go on then.
I'm going to give it a 3.
Oof.
And there's so much in it I dislike and I think is lazy. And that is three marks that have been given for quirky, funny bits. I like the know-it-all character. I like the princesses. I really like the princesses saving it. And that's about it. And there's so much else there that's just actively bad.
Interesting. I think you're being a bit harsh there, to be honest with you.
Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 2.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was terrible. I don't think it deserves to exist.
I toyed with a 4, but no, a 3, really.
I've not said much about it in the way of positives, but I think there's enough. there's enough to look at, and it's very watchable in terms of like there's lots coming out here, so it bears multiple watches, I think, if you can put it with the story. So I've given it a 5.
Animation.
Look at the animation hue, the characterization hue, and don't forget the background and the style. Yeah, man.
Well,
Animation. Do you know, at this point, like, you kind of go, yeah, it's pretty flawless, you know, as it always is now. Like, there's no, like, really outstanding like mistakes exactly or anything. It's all down to sort of the choices that they've made.
Yes.
And one of the things I didn't like is those creepy underworld black market type of, you know, the people Gord
Yeah.
and with the bug eyes and what's the other one's called? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Double Dan.
Yeah.
Those sort of strange, seedy characters, and it's not like, oh, who are they weird and creepy. It's just, oh no, thank you, I don't want those in this film.
And
Chris looks
on
pained.
that, I think it's because we just don't like the look of it. But again, it's the whole slaughter race thing. You can't say the animation's bad. It's just, I think the design is just a step too far, and it felt and it looked smelly and dirty and yuckety. But the internet as a whole, it felt too cavernous. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it feels like they went, right, what does the internet look like? It looks like the inside of a computer. And
Again,
made it all look like a city in that
yeah,
kind of way.
again,
But
too on the nose.
Yeah, but and why don't all the arcade machines look like that in the other games? Why aren't all those like that? Because surely if the internet's like that, then that's like that as well. It follows they should be the same, because
I would have liked it to have looked more like the intro to Silicon Valley. Do you know that? It's got all those internet companies popping up and rising and falling.
Oh, yeah.
In like a time lapse thing, but I like the look of that land, and it's sunshiny, and you know, it's like it's vibrant and fast paced and stuff. But it's not just like this is like the first idea you have, isn't it? We go, ooh, it's the information superhighway, so it's like a superhighway, but this is the city just off the superhighway.
Thing is, I don't know a lot about computer animation, but we watch things like Corridor Crew, which we like to plug on here. But that...
Yeah, because they need the plugs with their 6 million viewers, subscribers.
But we do mention them quite a bit.
Like Max, please.
That sort of landscape with the colours and the lights and the details and the movement, that must have taken teams and teams and teams of animators to reproduce.
yeah, you cannot you cannot fault the effort that has gone into this from the designers and the people who have built it. But I imagine there's a hell of a lot of people involved in this film who were sat there going, "Why? I'm just doing what I'm being told here."
I can guarantee that they wrote a program to deal with that Ralph monster.
And there's no denying that's pretty stunning.
It's stunning in its creation. It's hideous to look at. It's
Yeah.
not a pleasant thing to have.
It's
on your
so
screen.
creepy, like, because they're all crawling over themselves, and you don't really see the heads, do you?
No,
the heads
it's
are,
all arms
and like I
and
can kind of understand why, but it just creates this really creepy, ghostly, ghoulish, like these horrible little headless creatures crawling about over each other. It's terrifying.
I remember you talking about the rescuers and how you couldn't get behind any of the visuals in that because it was so dark and such a thematically really, really dark film. And at the time I was saying, yeah, but the whole shipwreck bit at the beginning, it's beautiful. It's animated beautifully. It's painted beautifully. The whole thing about it. I can get more from that film than I can from this. There is not a moment on that screen apart from maybe the stuff in Sugar Rush right at the start that I look at and say, I want to sit, my eyes are enjoying watching this. And that is the problem for me with this animation. It's not that it isn't talented. It's not that people haven't done a good job in what they've done. It's that I do not want to look at any of it.
What do I always say? Would I buy a print of it? I don't think there's a still in the whole film, Sugar Rush or not, that I would buy a print.
You get a better photograph of a computer. Just open up a computer, take a picture. That'll be a nicer picture than you get from anything in this film. It's just awful to look at. I'm sorry, I am being really, really cynical about this. I can't help it. But Lucy said when I wasn't talking about the film earlier, she said, "Thing is, you can't really knock the animation down, can you?" And I said, "Well, no, you can."
In the same way you couldn't on Toy Story 4, we were just like, well, they know what they're doing.
It's all render stuff. Though, what's with the choice of colour in the Slaughter Race? I get it, and it's fine, and it's impressive, but it is just a computer game. It's a rendered computer game, and there's nothing special about it. There's nothing appealing about it at all. It just makes me want to shut my eyes and not listen to it. And because I hate the story so much, it makes me want to shut my ears and not listen to it and not see it and not have any involvement in this film whatsoever. And that is how I feel about it.
Should we score it then?
Yeah. Who went first last time?
I did.
Oh, I'll go first. I've given it an 8 because for me, there's plenty to look at. It's so varied, you know. You don't get bored because, you know, if you don't like Slaughter Race thing, the princesses are coming up, things like that. I think, like I said, the giant Ralph with the tiny Ralphs, making up that form was good. I'm giving it an 8. I've knocked a couple off because some odd, inconsistent choices and things that make you go, I don't want to look at this. Thank you. 8.
I mean, you're right. It deserves an 8. Without a doubt, it deserves an 8. But I don't want to look at it at all. So I take points off because I don't want to look at it. I take points off for what you were saying about the characters as well. I take 2 points off for the general place, the world where we are. I don't like it. I take 2 points off for the seedy characters and the things that make the whole thing just feel awful. The virus, the things that just make my skin crawl and make me just not want to watch and be part of this film. So that drops it down to what? Down to 4, does it? Is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I give it an extra point for the princesses.
Yeah.
Because that's brilliant. So that's a 5. But I don't like the way the Star Wars characters are animated. It's somewhere halfway between droids and something completely different, and that in itself frustrates me as well. They're a bit too elasticy, wacky, and I don't understand why they would do that. So I'm going to give it a 4. It can have a 4. I'm frustrated with it, and the story's probably to blame for the animation score as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to split the difference here. I'm going to give it a 6. That's not just because that's what you guys said. I already had that score in mind. It's an incredibly accomplished and competent piece of animation, and individual moments. The princesses, fantastic. The design of their outfits, great. Mr. Know-It-All, whose name I'm not saying correctly, you can ding me if you want. What is it? Anyway.
Nosely. No, it's not Nosely.
Knows about or something like that.
Knows more.
Knows more, that's right. I like that character design. Interestingly, I feel like I would have said I liked him anyway, and then you find out that he's vintage Disney.
Vintage Disney.
So it's fine. I'm doing a similar thing to Chris in that I'm knocking it off for similar reasons, but I don't think it's quite as sinful as Chris seems to think it is. So I'm going to go with a 6.
We're on for a low score here.
Music?
Yep.
So do do so me do do me so do do so me do. We are going to talk about the music hits, rate the songs and score the incidental bits.
What music?
Slaughter Race.
That one song, and then the one song in the credits.
Worst thing Alan Menken's ever done. And it's not his fault, by the way. It is not his fault. No. It is lyrically appalling, and it's written. The lyrics are written by one of the writers of the film, so that kind of says it all, doesn't it?
In his defence, and in the lyricist's defence, I think it's meant to be a bad version of a Princess I Want song. And boy, did they achieve it.
The problem is, it's like any of these kind of things. Do that, great. Don't then make it an 8-minute long song. Just keep it short, keep it simple, do it quickly, and get it over and done with, rather than labouring it into multiple verses that you don't need to have there, that you've then got to think of more lyrics for, when your only capability in lyric writing is finding words to rhyme with words. It just isn't worth it.
But I'm just going to bring up what I think is the best animated musical. Second best now Encanto's come out, maybe. No, still. the best animated musical of all time.
South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut.
There you go. Hugh
Yeah.
knows me well.
It's a beauty.
It is. And the music in that is fantastic. And they are totally parodying all the cliches of animated films, all
Tomorrow
the cliches
night.
of musicals.
Tomorrow night.
They've got everything in there, but they do it so cleverly.
Yes, they do.
That they actually exceed the thing they're parodying. They don't just do a substandard version of it, which they could easily have done. Now, in this instance, yes, they were wanting it to be cheesy and a bit rubbish and parody that I Want genre, but there was an opportunity to actually make it the best Princess I Want film anyway, because they were doing it with that irony and tongue-in-cheek. And I bet there's any one of a million musical comedians, people like Tim Minchin, who could have done that so cleverly. And thing is, I don't necessarily
I bet Sarah Silverman could have written it better.
Honestly, she could. I don't know if I don't know Alan Menken. I don't know if he's a funny person, but he's a fantastic composer. It doesn't mean he gets the humour within his own work, does it?
He didn't write the music. He didn't write the lyrics, so.
Well, yeah.
He wasn't.
But
a
I mean,
lyricist.
I think musically you can be funny without. Music can be funny in its own right.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
without just the lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, it was what it was, but it certainly didn't. There was an opportunity, I think, that was missed.
I agree. I completely agree. Do
Do you know what would have made that? This is like one of those stupid little niggles that makes me go, ooh, they missed a trick there. It's right at the end of that song where there's bombs going off, which are supposed to be like fireworks.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been punctuated with just a smattering of gunfire.
No.
Just next time you watch it, if you ever watch it, it would just have just finished it off nicely, just to highlight the where she is. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't want to. I'm not saying they thought about this, but maybe they couldn't because they couldn't use guns in it. But just some distant machine gun noise would have been funny.
A better setting for the game, and it wasn't called Slaughter Race.
Yeah.
Then they would have got a better song, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They would have written a better song because it would have been something better.
Well, the other thing is we've been talking about Sondheim a lot recently, and I've been watching a lot of Lin-Manuel Miranda breakdowns and Jonathan Larson breakdowns on YouTube and stuff. And they're saying about choosing the names of things because they work lyrically. And it was Lin-Manuel Miranda who chose the name Bruno.
Yeah.
So it could be Bruno, no. Now, if you had to choose the name of a game to do really clever lyrics with and rhyme a lot of things with and play around with, Slaughter Race.
Yeah, and would you use a lyric, a place called Slaughter Race?
It and I
doesn't
feel
work.
like
It doesn't scan.
I mean, if it was a writer of the film who did the lyrics, he had the power to go, this isn't working musically. Can we change the name of the game to? And no. Anyway.
Yeah, but it was the writer. It was the writer of the film who wrote the
So
lyrics.
he
That's the whole
probably
point.
thought it was all fine. The
Kids love
score in
slaughter, don't
general.
they? Kids love slaughter. Don't they love it? Kids. Yo, kids. Does Bonnie?
Did
Bonnie
they-
loves
did
It was
they
a bit
know
slaughter, yeah.
What slaughter means as well. And if they did, that's a bit terrifying.
I'm always taking Lucas down the abattoir. He loves it.
I did say to Hugh halfway through, and I didn't know whether Hugh was enjoying it or not, I said, this music's a bit overpowering. And I can't remember when I said it or why.
The score?
The score, yeah.
There were parts of the score that reminded me of another score which I really dislike, which you've said you do like, Lucy, which is the new Spider-Man main theme. I think it's so boring. How does it go? I can't remember now.
That's that boring. That's the problem.
I want to just sing it for the audience, but yeah, and there's bits of that that are just a bit like that, just your bog standard score.
It was plodding along. It's completely forgettable. It probably did what it was supposed to, but we were in this horrible world that we didn't want to look at or listen to. So, what's the score going to do for it? How's that going to enhance it?
Look up
It's just not.
Spider-Man.
I will say one positive thing for it. I don't like Imagine Dragons, but I do quite like that song. Mainly because Lucas
Which
liked
song?
it. And when
Hero,
Oh, yeah.
also known as price tag.
at the end,
Price tag. It's not about the money. Zero.
yeah,
It's price tag.
It is.
Price tag.
yeah,
It
very
is.
similar.
It's very similar.
So even that
It
song
also
hasn't been
sounds like-
redeemed.
It also sounds quite a bit like
I thought you two would have
The
like.
Middle by
Well, yes, but and that's also
Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, that's also a song that Price Tag was compared to, and she was sort of
Yeah, I used to say that all the
was she
time.
questioned over it? Like, yeah, have you ripped this off? And they had to, they come to some kind of agreement over it, or settlement or something.
Yeah.
You know, the 100 Reasons, Jimmy Eat World song.
Jimmy Eat World. Hey, don't write yourself off yet. That one.
Yeah.
It's only in your head you feel left out.
What's the chorus go?
It goes, it just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of a fight. Everything will be
Price
just fine.
tag.
Everything will be
Hero,
alright,
zero,
alright.
is a.
I feel like you're both waiting for me to come in with a third line then.
Or a third song.
You could have
The
chose.
fourth
Yeah,
song.
we could have. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Come on then. Should we score this?
Score the
Put
score.
this to bed.
Yeah, Chris.
Well, it was there.
Yeah. Certainly was that.
I feel like I should be a little bit more fair on this occasion, so I'm going to give it a midway score of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I am also giving it 5.
Me too.
It fulfilled its brief.
There we are.
That's good because it makes my adding up easier. Right.
That's good
I've
to
got
know.
a score
Go
for
on,
this. Well, we need to. Is there any?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
there's,
do
there's
other
money.
bits, yeah.
There's money to
Information.
talk about. Let me get my book back open.
It's not about the money.
So this had it is, Chris. It is about the money.
It entirely is. Why would you do
It's-
a film with so much IP in it if it wasn't
I
about the
know.
money?
So the budget was 175
Righto.
million.
Right.
And the box office takings worldwide were
Oh my
529.3.
Christ, they saw us coming.
Well, they did, but having said that, I
The princesses.
I haven't got recent things to hand, but I suspect other films have done more.
For a sequel, though.
Yeah, what's this one I'm looking at? The last one, Moana, did better.
Good.
And so it should. And just the pure presence of the Oh My Disney and all that in itself is probably priceless. I bet they couldn't quantify it.
No.
I don't think they had an awful lot of merchandise attached to this. I know they had those jumpers that the princesses wore in the Disney store, but I think that there's other aspects to this one. Anyway, I was surprised by the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Were you?
Well, first of all, IMDb, typically 7.3, 7.4. This got a 7.0.
This is not a 7.0.
0.
So it's a whisker below. But Rotten Tomatoes tends to be a bit more discerning, and they have audience and critics. The audience, first of all, gave it 65.
Okay.
All right. I presume, given it less than that, but okay, audience. The critics gave it 88%.
What?
The professional
Really?
know what they're talking about. Critics have given it 88%.
I
So
think-
maybe it's us.
There's maybe a bit of a. I hope this isn't too rude, but maybe some of these critics
I've been paid off.
are maybe a little bit older, and they go, "Oh, wow, the internet visualized, wow."
I can't imagine it's going to... You know the whole thing you were saying in the history about they did this careful research? This film is not going to age well. It's already not aging well, is it?
No.
It isn't going to age well at all. So how can it be that good a film?
I
just isn't.
look. That's what the score is. I was also very surprised because I don't. If you take away the problems that we have, if you're not offended by the presence of slaughter race, and you think that toxic friendships are a good topic for a story
For kids. For the
For
kids.
kids.
For the kids.
for kids,
For kids.
and all
I
that
love it.
kind of thing, and you take away those problems and just look at it as a film with structure and third act surprise, I just don't think it's a very good film.
Was it an attempt at internet morality? Do you think they were thinking, do you know what? This is our social conscience.
They were very cautious, in my opinion, given that the main market is children and how important internet safety is for children. I didn't
But
see
likes are
much
important.
of that.
Internet
Li-
safety, yeah. But
likes are
likes are really
important,
important
yeah.
because they make you money.
I like how fickle everyone is, where they point them at the screen and they go, "Oh, like," but actually that is what people are
Yeah.
like. To be
Oh, yeah.
fair,
Yes.
but anyway, more
Go on then.
important than all these scores is our score,
Yes.
which is 50.
Wow, that's quite high.
Is
It's
it-
not.
high to me.
It is low.
That's in the context of the last 57.
Star Wars Holiday Special was 55, which is
Yes.
a travesty. Toy
Yes.
Story 4 was 56.
Wow, that's my fault. Sorry, that should be.
What
lower.
was Oliver and Co?
Was
I
it
don't-
36? something.
Oh, really?
The
Oliver
Wild
and Co
is
is
the-
37,
yeah,
which
the
is
Wild-
easy
what's
to
the Wild?
remember.
The Wild
for
is
some.
lower than that, isn't it?
The Wild is the lowest.
Does it even have a score?
The Wild is here somewhere.
Now, in defense of Ralph Rex, the internet, you can't compare it to the Wild.
no.
Even I have to say that the Wild is just beyond bad.
You are right. It is beyond bad. But morbid curiosity makes me want to watch that film more than a dirge of
The Wild.
Ralph Rex the
It's
Internet.
32.
32.
And
Chicken Little 57. I don't think we've had a 50 before.
Oh, there you go. It's
so,
back in the middle.
So it's got
Proper
that.
middle of the road.
Oh, Dinosaur
was 51.
Yeah.
you see, I would watch Dinosaur again today. I have a bit of a nostalgia for Dinosaur because it came out when I was working at the Disney Store and we had it on the big screen and stuff. And I like the opening sequence, but I don't want to watch this again.
I'd watch it again. I would.
I don't think I
would.
would. Certainly
Yeah.
not over any other option. And when you've got Disney Plus, I can't imagine this being the option
yeah, I
you
won't
go
be hurrying
for.
back to it.
Chris is dying to play one of his new jingles.
Favourite bits?
These are my favorite bits. These are my favorite. These are my favorite bits. What's yours? What's yours? These are my favorite
What time is it after that?
It is quite a long one, isn't it? There's a bit of crackling at the end of it as well.
I like it. It's fun.
For
yeah.
the smallest bit of the show.
I
Longest jingle.
don't have a favourite bit.
The end with the titles.
Yeah, that's what Ollie said.
The princess saving Ralph.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All that.
Yeah.
That is a very clever
Naveen
bit.
kissing him is a nice little bit.
I forgot to mention something earlier, so I'll discuss it now in the favourite bits, which was how cringy it was when those people in the office are watching the viral video and they're passing it to each other, and it's like they've never seen a viral video, and they're going, hey, have you seen this? Oh, what about this one? Look what Ralph's doing now. And they're like, hey, Ralph, I remember that guy. It's so cringy.
Do you know what made no sense? Oh, sorry. This is meant to be
getting out.
favourite bits. We're going on
Dragging
around.
ourselves back in
Right.
again.
They say these kids who used to play Wreck-It Ralph, they know him as an 8-bit character with little arms that do this, right? And then he was in high res,
Big arms.
rounded, it just like. In their world, he had the same resolution that they did. They were meant to be humans. So how could they recognise him and go, oh, that's Wreck-It Ralph, I remember that guy. It makes no sense.
You're right, Lucy. Hugh has scored the story.
Yeah.
Cry factor?
I'm exhausted.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Really loves it.
I don't know why they just can't be together.
Hugh's cry factor.
I mean, the bit where Ralph is telling Giant Ralph to let Vanellope go, there's something there. It's like, oh, that is touching. But it's when he says goodbye to her at the end when she leaves to go into Slaughter Race. I mean, that should have been even sadder. But the fact that I disagreed with it so much kind of held the tears back. But I managed to get up to a 3. A good solid lump in the throat. But it's more because I felt like I say, like you're sending your daughter off somewhere miserable. So 3, which sounds like this.
Not bad. They were good 3.
But the second one was a bit dodgy.
Yeah, but you soldiered on. That's it. So,
Soldiered on.
here we are at the end of a journey. Do you have anything to say about it?
Well, we ended with a bang.
Didn't we?
Well, we ended with a rant. We did.
Some of my favourite episodes have been ranty ones, though.
Well, once upon a time, we got a 1-star review because someone disagreed with said we were too negative with our takes.
Our Encanto episode, wasn't it?
Do you know the weird thing?
Too nitpicky.
Is that
We were.
has progressed to be, well, it's currently my favourite film. It really is.
It's definitely grown on.
We've
on me a lot.
watched it a lot, me and Bonnie, and I'm loving it, and I'm buying the merch and everything. So,
I think it's okay.
I don't know. It's just ironic that it would be that one that they would say we're too negative for. But it has made me think I need to be a bit more discerning, maybe a bit more appreciative of the art that goes in. And so I feel there's always a little twinge of guilt when we have an episode like this.
Okay.
But
Favourite classic, Hugh?
okay.
What?
Favourite classic. Right off the top of your head, what comes first into your head? Top favourite classic.
Favourite
Favourite
classic.
animated classic.
It's The Three Caballeros.
Lucy.
It's too hard to say my personal favourite, but when you say Disney classic to me, my first thing that comes into my head is Little Mermaid.
And I say Bambi. There we go.
Interesting. I think Bambi was top for a long time.
Little Mermaid was top
yeah.
of mine, and then Tangled. But I love Three Caballeros.
Three Caballeros is definitely up there, and I think
need
the
to rewatch
package
it.
era. I know we did all this on the thing a few weeks ago, but I think the package era is just it's so charming. Like
Yeah, that's
beginning to
it.
end
That's it.
charming.
And I don't think it's particularly it's not better than anything else. I just like that
Gives you
the
a warm
whole
feeling.
tone of it, and
Yeah.
the theming. I just love all that.
I like Saludos Amigos as well. I think they both complement each other really well.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, as Lucy alluded earlier, we're going to be back with a Marvel breakdown. We're going to rank them all. I've still got to watch.
It's gonna be good.
The newest one, the Eternals. I've got to finish watching that.
Oh, yeah.
I do not envy you.
I have this habit of starting the films and going, yeah, it's all right. I'm not that bothered.
We had to
losing
watch it
interest, and then having to enjoy.
We
the
watched it
rest
in
of
2 bits.
And that's very unlike us. We have Marvel
Well,
film
because it was
nights.
midnight, it's like we've got
Yeah.
to stop it.
Yeah.
We have Marvel film nights. We sit down. We're all happy. We're all ready for it. We've got the snacks. I think we were late starting this one because we didn't realise how long it was, and we just went, let's turn it off.
We're not putting the TV series into these, are we?
No.
So it'll be everything but the TV series.
The question is the Edward Norton Hulk. I think is the only question mark. Are we putting that in or not?
Well, I have 2 to watch if I'm putting that in.
I'd say no.
Right.
It's part of the MCU though, isn't it?
It
is
is.
part-
It was made before Disney purchased it, but when they purchased it, they took it as
Oh,
canon.
we can bang it in.
Yeah. Okay. In which case, I have 2 films to watch. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. But thanks.
2 bad films to
Thanks for
watch.
giving me. I'm going to bookend all of the Marvel films.
Yeah.
The first one and the last one.
And then whatever comes out on top, maybe you should watch that again, and then that'll make you feel good.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Oh, I have put it on my list.
Have you?
I put it on my list as well.
Oh, we have done, yeah. So, yeah.
The Edward Norton Hulk.
So, we're good, yeah.
Okay.
Don't look at my list.
Oh, okay.
It's my list.
Oh.
My secret list.
I'll send mine through next week. Lucy's compiling it.
I haven't done mine, but
Yeah.
I can do it. I can sit down sometime and just do it off the top of my head, I think.
I'll send it through next week. I'm pretty sure I know where Hulk and Eternals are going to be within 3 films of each other.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so it's all good. Anyway, for now, if you want to catch up with us at all, then you can get us on social media as usual in all the usual places. And we do the DLP show every Sunday at 8:30 live on YouTube, and that comes out as another podcast as well. And Lucy's been doing some tips for DLP as well recently. She's done some good stuff, hasn't you?
Yeah, I've got some Disneyland Paris videos coming out. Make sure you check those. If you've ever wanted to, or you ever plan to visit Disneyland Paris, check out my top tips.
There
The
you
hot. I've got hot tips.
And I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for Marvel stuff.
Yes.
So until then, goodbye.
Bye.
Laters.